I posted a picture of my preparations, though.
I am intrigued. That's what I like to see. What's this? What is it? Spiced rum. That's all I need to see. I haven't tried that one.
Wait, we're not done yet. So I also have some moonshine.
I approve.
Apple pie, which is pretty nice. I have Small Smoky, salted caramel whiskey, which is pretty nice. And I brewed some summer cider, and I have like a one bottle left, so I need to finish it off.
Well, fuck it, Doc.
So that's
the way to do it, man.
That's my homebrew cider. It's pretty tasty stuff too. So I brought a bunch of homebrew to the last retreat for Shadow Alley, and we just had a blast going through it.
I bet that sounds awesome, dude. Well, for everybody out there, hello, welcome tonight. I've got the wonderful Nathan Ameye with me, and basically we're here to talk about books and stuff like that. But from the looks of things, we're just getting smashed off our tits. So,
cheers to that.
Yep.
Nice.
Does, isn't it? Lars? I approve.
Hey, Lars.
You're at Dragon Con this year,
the
aren't
moonshine is nice. Oh yeah, absolutely. The moonshine, I like Old Smoky quite a bit. We actually went to Gatlinburg where their tasting room is, and there's the Moonshiners Travel Channel show. They have a tasting room there too, and it's funny because you walk in and every jar of moonshine in the place has one of their faces on it. And there was a line for 2 blocks, and that just kind of creeped me out, honestly. So we bailed on their tasting room and went down to Old Smoky, and they were super friendly and really good. I don't know, I loved it, so it was fun. I do want to try brewing my own though one of these days.
Yeah, well, as Lars says there, Darla promised to cook for us at Dragon Con, and Nathan promised to brew for us. How would we forget? Well, I wasn't forgetting. I knew this is what had been said. I was just checking that it was still going on and that I hadn't been, ripped out of it somehow, because I was looking forward to this shit after spending so much time with them last year.
Absolutely. God, it was so much fun. Come on, Lars, you got to forgive us some softball tee-up questions to get it warmed up, okay? Jeez.
Fuck that shit. So dude,
man.
I mean, first of all, you know that I absolutely love your series, especially Black Dawn. The redneck stitches is fucking perfect because it is redneck stitches. Now,
thank you,
for anybody out there that doesn't know this series, pick it up. Pick it the fuck up now. All right. Seriously, the first book. A lot of the stories that we write, the reason that we write them, the reason that people resonate with them so much is because they are normal people going into these situations and like, what the fuck do I do? How do I get through this? How do I deal with this? And rather than it being the chosen one who has, tapped on the head from birth, you shall end the terrible creator or whatever it is, and all that kind of crap. Black Dawn is fucking brilliant. Well done, Richie. So it's Thanks, one of these Richie. Where, because it's like the world's just gone to shit, the way it starts, you're just like, yeah, I can see that. And as it goes through, the little things like the redneck stitches, I won't ruin it for you if you haven't read this, but it's such... when I talk about it, I probably make it out to be this big thing and this amazing, wow, it's fantastic. It isn't, and it is. The reason it isn't is because it is just fucking normal. It is how you do shit. Especially in this kind of situation. It's just like, this is how I deal with things. And that is why it's brilliant, because it's real life and magic. And when I read that the first time I read that, I was just like, yeah. And it's just one of those things that's always stuck with me. Kyle, dude.
Hey, Kyle.
So I obviously have... No, it's very true. I mean, I've read Lich Hollow and I loved it. I hadn't realised until quite recently that you had the 3rd book out, because it only came out on the 7th of June. So it's not been out long.
Yes, Stormhaven.
So what the fuck, dude? You should be shouting this from the hilltops.
We posted it. I'm bad at self-promotion, so I'm sure you already know that I'm the worst person in the world talking about my own stuff.
Because you
absolutely.
feel,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, you know, I'm always wanting to be better than I am, and that's just always the way it is. So like, better at guitar, better at anything I try. But I also love it.
Well, I'm sure
I
Dylan's
loved
been telling
writing
you to
it.
keep trying for years. Sorry.
So sorry, got to get my ears adjusted.
Yeah. No, I'm saying I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
Darla's
I
been
had
telling
a
you to keep trying.
oh yeah, the Fae Nexus series. It was so much fun to write, and it's about where I grew up, right in the Ozark Mountains in Missouri. So the Midwest, northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, like the mountains get absolutely gorgeous in that area, and there's rivers all through it where I used to go canoeing and stuff and fishing when I was growing up. Just absolutely love the beauty of it, and you know, grew up kind of, I don't know, a little redneck, maybe a little poor, a little bit where you have that mentality where you have to figure shit out, right? You can't always make a problem go away. You have to be creative about it. You know, if you're using baling wire to hang your exhaust underneath your car, if you're going to figure out, you know, what will make JB weld stick properly, or what, you know, my car's half Bondo, or if you just have to rig something up to make things work, then that's the mentality, right? You can't always buy the parts, and can't always get Amazon. All right, so I thought, well, what would somebody like that do with magic? And I see magic as an abstraction, right? Everything's always more complicated than we can possibly comprehend, I think, to a degree. And so what would our interface with something that complex and all spanning be? And I think it's through our own mental lenses that we tackle something like magic. And so when you see Gage trying to figure out how the hell a spell works, then he's looking through his own lens and going, well, it's lightning magic. The closest I've ever come is welding. So I'm going to weld a spell for him. And he figures it out. And when he screws it up, it hurts. And, you know, that's true for welding too, right? You screw it up and it hurts.
It really fucking does, yes. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that was part of the fun of it. I think there are things that I'd still wish I could do better, but that's what the next series are for, hopefully. So I'll just get better and keep trying and have fun.
Dude, the series is brilliant. I really enjoy it, not just for the sort of the little touches of the redneckness, you know, and things like that, the way that you do things, but because it's real and the characters live and breathe. The secondaries, obviously, think of the main character as the primary, and then the secondary characters, the supporting cast, are really, they're alive. They evolve. The reason that they are who they are is because they are people. They do things. And at times you go, what the fuck have you done that for? And the reason is because they have their own reasons for doing things. So their aim might not entirely go with the main character Gage's aim. So they're, you know, Gage is going, this is where I'm going. And then they're going, that's lovely, but I'm going fucking here. So along this little bit, we still match, but over here, I kind of need to do something else. So you see that. You see the way that they interact with each other. And I really enjoyed that. So don't put yourself down, dude.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah. And tell you reading about the outside, how much of the tinkering crafting also comes from yourself, as in I'm damn sure wood carving is something you've done. What else? Yes. Go on. Martha, get off. Bloody cat.
Oh, I should have grabbed some of my carvings. I have done wood carving, but honestly, so I grew up just whittling with pocket knives. And when I started writing Fae Nexus was actually when I looked into what do real carving knives do and what are they like. And, you know, I had messed around with stuff a little bit, but once I started getting into it, there's this guy named Doug Linker who has a bunch of great YouTube videos on getting started with like just little figures and stuff like that. So I bought a couple of knives and started whittling and figuring out how it worked. And you end up getting a couple of different sized blades, so you can do different cuts, and you can do groove tools and stuff to deepen your marks and make faces pop and stuff like that. And it was just a blast. But so I labeled myself the eclectic miscreant, right? So there's a reason for that. I like trying new shit out. And the result is that I pretty much suck at all of it, but I have a great time anyway. So I have tried a
But as a
little
jack of all
welding.
trades, yeah.
Yeah, right. So you get to taste all kinds of stuff, right? So I've welded a little bit. I've wood carved. I've I don't know what else. I've painted, watercolor, clay, pottery. Love that stuff. So I try to bring a lot of that into the book, right? Things that I've tried. Only the character's way better at it than I am. But I like fishing and hunting and martial arts and playing guitar. I've spun vinyl at dance clubs. I've done all kinds of crazy stuff. I've fenced, cosplayed. It's just a little bit of everything. And that I like to bring a lot of that into the writing because I can remember like, oh, what was it like switching to a pistol grip when I was a fencer? Like, I don't know, I sucked either way, but I still had fun learning that, oh shit, there's this thing called a pistol grip, and it felt different. And I remember how that feels. And like when you have a piece of art or watercolor right in front of you and suddenly the paint flows the way you actually meant it to. I remember that feeling. Or the first time I played a guitar on stage, like I remember that feeling. So I want to convey a little bit of that if I can. And hopefully I do for some people.
You do, dude. It's very clear that you're in your stories that there's knowledge behind the phrasing and behind the skills you describe. It is clear. So you do very well, mate. I do find that writing you come across some weird shit. I mean, you know, the jokes have always been about for years that if anybody actually reads our search history, we're all boned. But
oh god,
fuck me, the stuff that you have to look up. I was studying nuclear fusion the other day, and then I realized that I'm an idiot and I should not be studying nuclear fusion. I should be letting somebody that knows what's going on fucking tell me about it. Saving a lot of time.
Yeah, that is true. There is a level of detail that you can't actually go to without exposing yourself as a fraud, right?
Yeah,
And
totally.
as an author, you have to walk that line, and it's a tricky line, and that's why hard sci-fi writers are so amazing. They're incredible
and insane.
And insane.
I mean, there's no way that they're not
Clearly.
insane. I mean, the shit that they come up with. Peter F. Hamilton, the stuff that, you know, if we could just bottle his brain, I mean, fuck's sake.
Oh my god. I mostly stuck to like the more space opera stuff, Harry Harrison, Stainless Steel Rat, and old fun stuff like that. But I loved Asimov, and I mean, even the Perm books are science fiction under the hood, right? So, and
Yeah,
so was the Al-Anon stories and stuff like that. So it's fun to see how science fiction at a very light level can still influence fantasy in a huge way. And I think Lit RPG is a perfect example of that.
Definitely. Have you read any Peter F. Hamilton? The Night Storm trilogy.
Oh,
I would definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, nice. At least a couple of them, Lars.
For sure, Lars. Yeah, no doubt. So what crazy things have you been researching lately? Oh wait, we have a question.
Yep. Kyle, what was your inspiration for Lich Hollow? Come on then, Nathan.
Dude. So I liked in the we have an anonymous person who thinks I'm a good dude. I love that.
Go tell we need to find out who this person is because you're wrong. Crazy.
There's only like 3 of you, so please, I need to know who you are. So I got into the topic of undeath a little bit with Tash, right? One of the characters in my first book is this ghost gunslinger who has been kind of the guardian for the demon hunters historically for a long, long time. And so I wanted to know where kind of Tash's nemesis was, where that came from. And I came up with this old betrayal, right? And that betrayal was the Lich Hollow story, right? So So in playing with undeath, I don't know, it lets me think about the pros and cons, like the good and bad things about death and how you can abuse such powers, but also how tempting it would be,
Oh
right?
yeah,
To have that power and that control. There's a
God, yes.
yeah, I don't know. And I just thought like Tash as a good ghostly gunslinger needed a counterpart who took it too far. And I thought like the way the history of the demon hunters had been shrouded in mystery and lost memory, I thought that was an important thing to tackle for the world, so that in the future, if I'm lucky and get to come back to Fey Nexus for more books, I want to expand on that history, but I needed to lay some groundwork about why, it's this, it basically is a conspiracy theory at best from our modern perspective, but in this story, it's a conspiracy theory that could turn true. And so I wanted that transformation open to me. And I love this lost town. I had this dream about following these foggy train tracks into the mists and finding this lost town. And you actually can kind of stumble across these weird places in the Ozark Mountains, right? So if you're out hunting deer or fishing, looking for a good spot, like you can wander through the morning fog and suddenly there's this old barn or a house foundation or something, and you just have to, you think, who lived here? What were the stories here? And
See,
it's that
I know
feeling.
this isn't going to, but I'm always jealous of this, massively jealous of this, because here in the UK we don't have that kind of shit. We have buildings that are here. I mean, I used to own a building that was from the 1200s, like the 1100 to 1200s. So it was like 900 plus year old. And that's older
Yep.
than a lot of things in the world these days, nations. But it's a case of, we don't have wild places at all. We have sort of places that are in Scotland. We have places in Wales. We don't really in the UK, in England anymore. But you have places in Scotland, Wales, and occasional places in England where you can go sort of far from anybody, but you are always a matter of miles from the next sort of town or city. And you know that there's been 300 people have walked through where you are now in the last month, if that. There is nowhere that is wild. There are no wild animals that are really wild animals, I would say. Everything is sort of like, oh, wow, that's a big cat. It's a fucking cat. It's a house cat. It's not a fucking, it's not going to kill you. You're in serious danger, if a Jack Russell goes feral or something. But beyond that, there's nothing out there that can kill you or
I mean,
hurt you.
those little bastards are mean.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's the whole point. I mean,
that reminds me, I'm actually reading The Transcendent Green right now. I think I'm partway through book 2 by Madi Oka. I don't know if Ocha. I don't even know if I can say that name right, but it's set in Scotland. It's post-apocalyptic, and it goes really heavily into the Gaelic language, and the magic introduces more of that culture and the history. And it is just like you said, like I think the main character is just going through the woods past a couple of locks, but it's from city to city, right?
That's what I mean. There's nowhere that's properly wild. I do miss that. And when I've flown to America and I'm flying over, you look out the window and you see literally like miles upon miles upon miles of forest and mountain and nothing else, and that is beautiful. Because here we do not have that shit at all. There's main roads everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So, anyway, just the thought of being able to walk out there and see this kind of stuff is just wonderful.
There's a different kind of history though that you get there, right? So we went to Venice to hang out with a couple other writers. Michael Chatfield and Brian Norden were there in Italy around Lake Garda, but Darla and I started in Venice, and it's crazy how much history you can see just in layers of stone as the buildings get older and older, right? So there's something magical still about that.
definitely. When you look at buildings that are in Rome, for example, and you look at it and you go, I mean, oh, it's a very nice big old building. Then you stop and you think and you go, wait a minute. There were Roman emperors literally giving orders to the legions standing there. And that's when you start to go, fuck a duck. I mean, I went to see the Saqqara, which was the first step pyramid. So this is a pyramid that was well before the three main pyramids at Giza. And the Saqqara, well, they said at the time it was the first step pyramid. I think they found another one since then. But this pyramid is, the outside of it, it doesn't look like a pyramid anymore. It has been so fucked by wind and by erosion and stuff that you can see the shape. It's like literally steps. So it goes in, goes up, goes in, goes up. But it's so battered and so fucked. Cheers. You look at it and you do get this amazing sense of just time standing. Because the pyramids are literally thousands of years old. And anything. Stonehenge. Going to see Stonehenge, and you used to be able to walk up and like walk around and you could touch the stones. And they're like 6,000 years old. That they've been standing there for, and you're like, fucking hell. But also, you've got to wonder if the first bards, right, were the fucking Stonehenge guys. Because what you've got is some of these bastard druids, right? They went fucking hundreds of miles away to get to talk people in like, lugging all these massive stones. So there was none of them are near that area, right? They literally came from hundreds of miles away. So they're just going along, just going, come on, give us a hand, lads. Just help us carry this shit along. I know they're like 60 tons ago, but come on. This is 6,000 years ago.
They brought along lots of this.
A lot of booze and probably some good mushrooms. And I always think about the fact that, I was going to say that
I think you could probably. Oh, yeah. I bet you could walk into a bar and talk a bar full of rugby players into doing that just for fun, though. So really, how hard could it be?
Were generally quite crazy,
right?
But if you think about it, the Druids knew the world. They were the historians of the age. They knew obviously what there was to know. These poor fuckers that lugged these rocks halfway across the world as they knew it. What happened to them? Because you get a Stonehenge, like, right, lads, go on, put it up. There you go. Thanks very much. You can fuck off now. They're going to be like, I don't know where I live. You're going to have hundreds of people just going, what do I do now? Just head that way. North Star. Just follow that, son. You'll be fine.
Start herding sheep, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there is like a mass grave. Isn't there like a grave around there somewhere? Like they started finding lots and lots of bones in one of the chambers in a nearby place.
There's loads of weird ass shit around there. There's weird stuff that there's a bog that's a bit further south of London. I think it's about 60 or 70 miles south of London. There's sort of an area that's very, very boggy. I fucking hope. South of shit anyway. But where it is, so it's what I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's a bog essentially. And they've pretty much built houses all over it all. It's all been drained. It's all been sorted out. And then somebody realized about 40 years ago that there was a massive amount of gold that was being transported back in like the early Middle Ages that was lost there. That billions of current value was being transported through there and was raided, and all of the raiders and the transporters were all supposedly killed, and all the gold was just lost to the bog. And so you've got this area where over time they've obviously just built over it, and there's loads of people going, my house might be on top of like 50 million in gold. It's the people are going out and just going, I think I'll dig myself a pool. Fuck. And just like digging up their own gardens and going, there's nothing in there. And you think, what will happen if one of these days somebody does that and goes, because I can guarantee you they're not going to turn around to the government and go, look what I've found. Because under the UK laws, the government would then claim all of that gold as it being traditionally part of England, and then would give them a finder's fee, which would be a couple 100,000. So it'd be like, oh, look, 6 billions worth of gold. Oh, there's 100,000. Thanks very much. Get fucked. I am taking that and I am leaving this country.
I mean, didn't National Treasure, like that Nick Cage movie, cover that? I think they got offered 10%, which is a pretty healthy finder's fee for $1 billion. 100 million.
It is, but I always feel a
Sounds
bit
good to
bad
me.
about that. 'Cause it's like, yeah, you found 10%, you get 10% of the treasure, which nobody would have got any of if not for you. So it's like, well, I think
Seems
I
like it
deserve
should be the
half.
other way.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, like,
count it as income and tax me.
yeah, fucking hell. I mean, even the taxes, I'd be just like, look, let's tie this up for a bit while I go out and buy some politicians who are going to introduce a new treasure tax that's 2% or something.
Yes. Capital gains the hard way.
Oh, yeah. But again, that's why you buy politicians, isn't it? You know, you just get enough gold, give them some of it, it'll be fine.
I like the meme where they say they should put patches on politicians' suits so you know who owns them, just like race car drivers have all the patches everywhere.
That'd be brilliant. Can you imagine that?
Sponsored by Exxon.
You see them going in, and you just be like, yeah, man, I know what's fucking going on here. But being me,
awesome.
I would insist that, you know, if I'm buying a politician, I want that fucker tattooed. I'm not having him turn around later on. I want, you know, across his forehead or something, and then I would name my company Dickheads just to make him tattoo Dickhead across his head. It'd be worth it. I would work my entire life to build up a company to do that, just to get a politician to tattoo Dickhead across his head.
Isn't there some old video game that was called Cockhead or something crazy like that? I gotta Google it.
Probably.
It had a hilarious, Cockhead had a hilarious logo. That would be a pretty good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at that now.
Yep, it's up on Steam. Oh man,
Yoba Games.
My driving influence for writing. Yeah, I mean, man, I don't know. I've been writing for so long, but like so many of my hobbies, I used to hop in and out of it. So I'd try stuff and play and whatever. But when I was, I think in first grade, I wrote my first story. And I just remember, so some of my earliest memories when I was growing up were my grandma taking me to the library. And I would check out stacks of books. Like I couldn't even see up onto the counter, but I would check out a stack of books like at the limit. You know, 10, 12, 15 books at a time, like whatever they would let me take, I would take. And then I would bring them back, and week after week after week, I would do this. And it got to the point where like adults would be like, does he really read all that? And I even in fifth grade, like you would write little summaries of each book you read and put it in an index card box or something in the classroom. My freaking English teacher called my parents. They're like, he's lying. There's no way he reads all these books. But I did. I would read hundreds and hundreds of books a year. And so eventually I enjoyed it so much that I had to try it. And there's something, how do I say it? I don't know, intriguing about language itself, right? Mm-hmm. So words are a poor attempt at reflecting what's in our minds. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's interesting to explore. I was a legal nerd for a little while. So I was pre-law and political science in college and loved reading Supreme Court cases because the nuance in the language was actually really fascinating to read, because words don't fully capture meaning. So when you need precision, you have to use a lot of them, and you have to work at it. You have to work hard. And then I went back to the creativity and the beauty of the books that I started reading as a child. And I was like, that takes just as much work. And it's a different kind of precision because you need to understand what kind of picture you're painting in somebody else's brain. And that's just cool as shit, right? It's so much fun. And it's frustrating because you never succeed. You cannot do it. Like, you go look at your favorite books 1 stars, and you'll realize how flawed language is as a tool. And yet our struggle with it is beautiful and challenging, and you can't win, but you also can't really lose as long as you're honest with yourself about the struggle and you're enjoying it. So I think there's something beautiful just in writing. And then the exploration of an idea is so much fun. Ideas are a dime a dozen. I feel like I have millions of ideas, but to really flesh one out is the hardest fucking thing. It's so incredible to hand off something as complete as a book and go, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a book. It's real, and it's just wild to be able to do that. And it's so much amazing fun. I love it.
It really is.
How about you, man?
It's definitely, I love
You should answer
writing.
these questions too.
Occasionally, but no, I love to write just because it's the best fucking job I've ever had in my life, without a doubt. I mean, I grew up wanting to interview strippers for a living, just for the opportunity of getting people dance, just to dance naked for me all the time. That was my aim, and it wasn't quite a realistic career choice, I was told at school. Nice. But it's one of those things that now that I write, I went through the welding, I went through being a chef, I went through management roles. I went through IT, which was fucking painful. Like horrifically painful, honestly. The amount of people that have access to technology that shouldn't be trusted with anything more complex than, you know, those little ones that you give to toddlers to play with. That is too complex for a lot of people that get like computers and stuff and that deal with government issue things. They should never be allowed that. And for me, writing is just a release from everything. It definitely fucking for me.
So that's where I've spent most of my career, is in development, not so much IT support, but software development on the back end. So databases and web apps and mobile apps and all that, and went through the whole cycle of managing teams and CTO and director of technology and all this stuff. I still do a little consulting for some old friends back in Denver that I love, and I adore working with them. So that's pretty fun, but it's been an amazing transition to write and go back to the things I loved as a kid so much.
Yeah, definitely. I'm permanently fucking bewildered by the amount of idiots in the world that would do things like have their password as password. And you're like, oh, just fucking no, please, no, you didn't actually do that.
I saw somebody recently say, they said nobody's brute forcing passwords anymore. And I said, you know, actually they still do, because a couple 100,000 tries and you get a fair chunk of passwords because they're predictable.
Very predictable. I remember seeing there was a program, there was sort of like a clip of somebody that was interviewing, well, I think it was BBC or somewhere, that was interviewing this cybersecurity expert. And the guy that was interviewing her was saying, all right, so you've been doing this for years. Oh, yes. Oh, they don't catch me out. And he's like, all right, so what was your full name again? Yeah, so which college did you go to? Oh, when did you graduate from there? Oh, so you enjoy it? Yeah. You got any pets? And he went through all of the normal like security questions. He went through all of them, and she answered every single one of them. And he was like, you fucking idiot.
Yep, it's unbelievable. Social engineering is 90% of the problem.
Definitely. If you wear a high-vis vest, walk in, hold a clipboard, and look like you need to do something and you're annoyed, look like your day has gone to shit, people leave you alone.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you can do, right?
I went into places when I was working, and you'd go in and you'd be working, you're putting some new equipment in the servers, and you go and you put stuff in, you look at the back, and some of the stuff that's plugged in there, and you're going, the fuck is that? Because that should not be here. If you ever want to know about stuff like that, I recommend looking at rubber duckies. you seen the rubber ducks?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Have a look at the
Oh,
rubber
yeah.
ducks. Fuck me, that's terrifying shit.
Yeah,
I mean, you
I
look
used to
about
work with the network.
cybersecurity to know that I didn't know about it, and I'm fucking terrified by it.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? One of the cool Dragon Con panels I went to was these guys talking about what an EMP would actually do to our infrastructure, and like just the ripple effects and the fragility is absolutely astonishing. That's
Oh yeah,
incredible.
it is terrifying. When people
Yeah,
say, "Oh,
I
well,
used to.
about post-apocalyptic novels," and like, "Oh, it wouldn't really be that bad." No, you're right. It would be fucking worse because everything that's on there, everything that's out there in the public sphere, has been built by the lowest bidder, which means that half the stuff that should be in there
Mhm.
isn't.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I used to do some consulting for state government, and the coolest thing was I knew the state CTO a little bit, and he
Mm-hmm.
actually didn't always pick the lowest bidder, which was impressive to me. Like he knew the cost of paying for cheap software, and vulnerability is the cost.
I mean,
It was
this is
amazing.
to give you a rough idea of how wise people are with some things. One of the IT companies I worked for, we used to spend a lot of time out in the field. So we would go, other end of the country, we'd go anywhere, and we'd be
Hmm.
deployed there. And and sometimes the clients would say things like, "Oh, I'm not paying for an overnight stay for the engineers." And you go, "All right, well, just to make you aware though, it's a 4-hour drive to you. It's a 4-hour drive from you back to our base. Yes. So this engineer is going to have to leave because the rules are that he'll be there from 9 till 5 on your site. Yeah. So he's going to have to leave at 5 o'clock in the morning to drive to you. He's going to finish at 5 o'clock at night. He's going to then get home after 9 o'clock at night. Looking at rush hour, probably closer to 10 or 11. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Now, your job's going to take 3 days. But if he's having to drive this long, you're in a restaurant. I don't know who you are, Facebook user, but we love you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming
But
by.
exactly. But when you're driving all this distance each way, and then they're going, so this job will then take, rather than them being on site and saying, well, if they're staying locally, they could be there at like 7 o'clock in the morning and work till 9 o'clock at night and get the whole thing done in a day and a half tops. Instead, you're going to pay for 3
Okay.
days for the engineer to visit, and you're paying mileage. Kev, dude, thank you, man.
Dude.
And you're paying for all the hours, you're paying for everything. And they're going, yes. All right, fuck you, idiots. You'd
Yeah.
explain it and you'd put down the numbers and you'd go, so it comes down to, 1,200 quid, pounds, dollars, whatever it is, or about 13, but you get it done in a day and a half rather than
Yeah.
4 days of all your
It's
systems being down. And they go, no,
it's
we'll
called a
save that money.
no-brainer. It's called a no-brainer
Yeah,
because people with no brains make the other call.
exactly. You
So
do
we got
get
a
some
couple of
fun.
questions here.
Good, let's have some
I
questions.
think Lars had one. Do you have any ultimate goal for writing? Like when I hit my peak, I want to write this.
That's a good one for you.
I don't know that I would ever hit my peak. I'll be lucky to hit like a decent trough.
Dude,
I don't know,
don't
man.
belittle yourself. You're married, that's your
I
wife's job to put you down.
No, she's awesome. She's way better than
I
me.
know. No, I tease. Fucking, I love Darla. She is wonderful. Darla, please don't
She's
stab me.
great.
Please don't stab me.
She's a she's a damn fine writer too.
Mm-hmm. She is. She's a
So
wonderful
my
woman.
God, man, I love the thing is like hobbies. I like all the things that I would love to write. So I like science fiction a lot, and I like epic fantasy a lot. Um, I don't know. I don't think there's a peak. I think there's a peak for any given moment in your life, right? So you change as a
Mm-hmm.
person, and that means you change as an author.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for me, Fey Nexus was the thing I did at that particular peak. Maybe I'll get better at some things, but maybe I'll get worse at other things. Maybe I'll capture, I don't know, like a cool, elegant progression system that doesn't involve as many stat sheets. Like that would be fun to tackle. that would mean I would gain something, but I would also lose something, because I think the dice rolls in Fey Nexus are really fun, and I actually rolled them, so I gain stuff and I lose stuff, and that's just me changing as a person and as an author. So I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't mind building up more skills and being more aware of my own foibles. But yeah, I don't know if there is such a thing as a peak necessarily, if that makes any sense. Maybe a crappy answer, but I think we just change. I'll get senile. Maybe that'll be my peak. I'll just totally lose my fucking mind and write the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And then
they'll have to move to, and you'll be like, who? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Whatever.
Exactly. It is.
What else? There's a post-apocalyptic question for both of us. What do you think, man?
What's so intriguing about post-apocalyptic is writers choose that particular trope. I'll let you answer that one first, Nathan.
So post-apoc is interesting because and I find it all interesting, like second world fantasy lets loose all the rules of society, but post-apoc forces us to address certain things that exist already. So sometimes as an author, I feel like you get more creative when there are constraints put on you, because you don't have to consider, oh my God, all these possibilities. Like, I don't have to create a new world. So that portion of my brain can focus then on maybe more tightly on what magic is like, because I don't have to invent the Ozark Mountains. They're there for me, right? Because that's my experience in life. So I think we bring ourselves to our stories just enough to set a foundation of things that you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of cycles on, so that you can spend those brain cycles on other stuff. And so if you choose post-apocalypse, I think what you're doing is choosing to go with a starting point that a lot of your readers understand already. So you don't have to spend a ton of time thinking there's this new culture in these 5 warring states, and there's these cities and all this different political structure. Like, fuck all that. It's a redneck town in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest. Let's go. And so you can focus on different stuff. Post-apoc is interesting in part because we all kind of wonder what we're like under stress. And I know, like those of us in service, like not me, but other people have been under stress, and they've learned a lot about themselves through it. And I respect them incredibly for it. I feel like post-apoc is one way that as an author, I can explore what I might be like under stress. And the interesting thing is Fey Nexus wasn't super like oppressive and gritty and dark. It was actually pretty decent. I didn't want a ton of angst amongst these friends. I wanted a real friend group. Like the kind of friend group that I had growing up was very small, because man, I was not like super popular or outgoing. But the friends I had were amazing, and we didn't have a ton of drama. I like people that know how to communicate with one another to head off drama at the pass. And that's how I like to live my life. And that's the people I like to surround myself with. So I wanted that friend group to go through an apocalypse, because it's a little bit different than if you're in the middle of all this, whatever, teenage romantic angst or, adult like power struggles. I decided for myself that I wanted this relatively mature group of friends to go through an apocalypse and see what they did. And I think that's fun.
Good answer, mate. Thinking about it, I can definitely agree with that. I mean, for me, I like the sort of the way that people interact and the way that they deal with things, the way that they worry about the way the world looks at them. One of my recent releases, somebody left some very pissed off feedback saying it's ridiculous. The main character's getting all this grief from people. He should just fucking stab them. Should just kill them. Throw them out the door. Fuck it. And it's like, he's running this sort of area. He's running the dungeon in this case, and he's got control over it. Yes, he has. But he has all of these people who are under him who live in his dungeon. But it's very much a case of you've got the choice of you can either rule by force, or if you're ruling a group of modern people, essentially, you need to rule at least in part by democracy, which it's not necessarily voting rights, of, hey, should we do this, should we do that? But if you are seen to be this absolute bastard who's trampling over everything, you're just going to get people leaving you, you're going to get a rebellion, you're going to get very grudging help rather than very, all-in help. You're going to have a lot of problems. And so some of the characters that try to lead a sort of insurrection almost, and it's really obvious to everybody that isn't one of their little group that it's not going to work. It's very obvious. Everybody's going, what the fuck is this playing at? But he can't just send them against the wall and shoot them all, because then that's like, while they would have obviously lost, then they would have won in that then he has caused these massive problems for himself with other people, because he can never hold the high ground morally with anybody. So yeah, exactly, there's a difference how we'd like to deal with them and how we actually would in the same position. I mean, I know for a fact that I would probably line up and fucking shoot them, which is the very bad response to it, because I'm a bastard. But should I do that? Definitely not. And that's, it's dealing with these things. I know somebody that works, or I used to know somebody that works in the legal side of things, in advising judges on what the correct sort of punishments are for things. And she was saying that she has seen things that will absolutely horrify. Because if you look at it and you think a judge might see, they might be involved in a case for 6 months, 6 years, whatever it is. They might only deal with like 10 major cases in a year, or 50. But they will deal with a set amount of cases, and they will see this data, and they will live through the cases with it. And then they will have people that are there that are going, how did you deal with this? Are you all right? And what you don't realize is that, or like I didn't realize, is that the person that is giving the judge this advice has to read all of this data, has to read all of the information of what's been done, and then give advice, but doesn't have the protection that the judges are afforded. And what they see is they do this for a dozen courts at a time. So they might read through 10 cases a day and then give advice to the judges on it. And so these people are dealing with fucking horrific things. And so when people say they don't like Kelly because of the way that she reacts to things and the way she doesn't trust people, she has seen shit that teaches you not to fucking trust people. The things that this girl that I used to know told me that she saw and that she read about. She would never give me details, but the stuff that she was seeing, she was seriously fucked up, and she was in therapy a lot because of the stuff she had to deal with every day. And you think, these are the people that you never know exist with that kind of a job, and you never think about the massive trauma that they go through. So then to take that character and their experiences, and how would they deal with the world? They might want to live normal, they might want to be like, hey, they go out for a drink and they're like, hey, let's all just be normal. But underneath there's an underlying trauma that's going, like, you touch me, you grab my arm from behind or something, I'm going to fucking stab you, because I know this month 16 people have been, abducted and raped in this area. That kind of shit, just like,
Yeah, it's incredible. No, it's incredible, though, the amount of context that we bring to everything we do. I was talking about the flaw of language, right? That is part of it, is all of our previous experiences inform everything we interpret, even when we read a single sentence on the page. We're mapping it to this incredibly complicated and sometimes really flawed model of our history and our current context, right? So all of your history for however many decades you've been alive, plus how are you feeling at the moment? Did you sleep well? Are you in a good mood? Are you in a coffee shop, or are you at home in bed? Like, all of these things change every sentence on the page for a reader. And it's incredible. And it changes it for the author too, right? Because we're trying to put other perspectives than our own. Like people accuse us of self-inserting, and I admit that I did some with Gage, right? But you almost have to learn to self-insert so that you can begin to learn to take other angles on the same thought, which is awesome. I think it's cool as hell that you have that person to draw on for that character. That's super cool.
I think almost all of my characters are based in like, quite significantly on people I know and on aspects of their personality. Because if you think about it, we are all aspects of personality, because the people that the things that you see in me, for example, are totally different to the things that my wife sees in me. I fucking hope. We weren't going to talk about the cuddles
I
and
hope
stuff.
so. I mean, we'll see how Dragon Con goes.
Yeah, but she knows things about me that I then look totally different because I react to her differently. I show a different side of myself to her. She's seen me crying, holding our children. She's seen me fucking elated. She's seen me fucking naked and dancing, which a lot of people have seen. But there's these things that different people see different aspects of our personality, but nobody except us, you as yourself, ever knows you that well, because you don't share that aspect. And you think that while your wife knows you so well, she doesn't see that aspect of you when you're with John, your mate from 10 years ago that you used to drink with all the time, and you had all this great back history with. You haven't seen him in 10 years. You bump into him in a bar and you spend the night getting ratted with him. Your wife's never seen that side of you that he knows and that you automatically become when you're in that conversation, that context. So I find that splitting off an aspect of somebody I know to be a character is a wonderful thing, because it's,
I mean,
disturbingly,
you really
the
have
more
to.
Definitely, because you have to make these people live and breathe in our heads to know how they react to things. And knowing that they do things, people often say that the more disbelievable characters in my books are this person or that person. I'm going, yeah, that's not just like that. That's not made up. That's a real person that I know quite well, which is why they're that fucked up.
Stranger than fiction, right? Like real life is stranger than fiction. I mean, I think it's a point that it's so true what you're saying, but to even expand on that for writing in general, like we could probably look around and spend, I don't know, 500,000 words describing our day, one day, right?
Yeah.
Probably there's that much detail and that much fidelity in our experience. So to actually take a book that's, well, in your case, whatever, you don't count, you're too prolific. Regardless, though, you're taking a tiny, tiny sliver of a person and a tiny, tiny sliver of the world you're trying to write. And you're trying to convey all of that richness that we experience on a day-to-day basis for a story that spans sometimes months, years, into a couple 100,000 words. And you're like, that couple 100,000 words is a tiny, tiny sliver of the 2 or 3 billion words that could have been chosen to describe that same story.
Yeah.
And every reader, they bring to it their own desire for like, oh no, I wanted this other 0.0001% because I have a different picture of it. And you're like, all I can do is give you the 200,000 words. I can't give you the 10 billion or whatever that would actually let you live it for real. And
that's
so,
entirely correct.
As authors,
it's mad.
Yeah, it's a maddening challenge to try to slice off that tiniest shaving of something that somebody can imagine fully. And that's pretty cool.
It is, because if you think about it, I mean, just as an example, sort of these pictures behind me, every single one is just a picture of somebody else's kids to everybody else that's watching this. But to me, every single one of those pictures is a memory, and in that memory, there are contextual details: who that person is, where they are, what they were doing, the time of year, the life that we live, the things that were going on at that point, the things that have happened since then that you go, oh, well, I remember that happening, and hey, didn't we lose that hat at such and such? Oh, I remember being at that beach. I wonder if we're going to go to that beach again. And you've got all of this stuff that comes down to photo of someone's kid.
Yep, absolutely.
You know,
But when you're an author, you can reveal little bitty slivers of things. Like if I were to put you in those pictures in a story, I would talk about the Naginata, the giveaway and the charity event. And that's a tiny little sliver of your life that actually reveals a ton about the pictures behind you. And I watch you, and it's part of why you can present a little bitty slip of something and add so much depth and beauty and wonder to a person or a character in your story. And I think that's the trick, is to reveal those correct slivers. But it's also one of the beautiful things about getting to know other people, right? So if you see that and learn that over time, as long as we're patient and observant and care, then we can actually sense a little of that depth, which is awesome.
It's really weird that even the strangest individuals around us have such massive stories to tell, and some of the stuff that they go through, that you look at them as you walk past them on the street. My wife and I are terrible for going out for dinner or anything else and people watching, right?
Oh God, yeah.
And you know, you sit down and I'll often sort of she'll usually say to me about halfway through the meal, like, do you want to swap seats? Because she'll have chosen whichever seat it is so she can see the entire room. She'll be sitting there like that, watching them all.
We have occasionally been sitting out and going, first date right behind you, and we'll just listen.
Yeah, you do.
They're the best. They're the best.
Yeah. There's some damn good fan art, but that's the thing. You're picking out these people and you're going do, and you see them, and some of them are fantastic, and you can't help but watching it and see the car crash happening. I used to run a restaurant, and I remember being in and seeing this couple that used to come in, and they came in every Friday night or Saturday night. I can't remember which it was, but it was like every week they came in, and you could see their relationship deteriorating week upon week upon week. And how much more time she spent on her phone, how uninterested she was in things, and you could see the relationship falling apart. And then he got in touch with me, and he said, like, oh, when I booked the table for this, whatever night it was, he was like, look, I need to ask you permission for something. I was like, right? I want to have a violinist come in. Right, okay. If you want, it's up to you. It's it's not going to cause any real problems, as long as they're not like wanting to stand on a table and play to the entire crowd or something. No, it'll only be for a couple of minutes. But I want them to come in when I propose to my girlfriend. And I was sort of like, when you go inside, you're going, oh, that's not a good idea. That's a fucking terrible idea. And you go, are you sure? I mean, surely, of course, if you want to, but maybe that's something that you should do in private. Really make it private for the two of you. And he was like, no, we've been coming to the restaurant for a couple of years. I want to do it in the restaurant, and I want to do it at this table and pick the table and stuff. And I was like, yeah, go for it. And long story short, it happened. He came in, with the wife, the girlfriend. She was obviously very unimpressed with everything as usual with the relationship. And then the violinist comes in, and you saw her face as she looked at the violinist and looked at him, and you saw the words, "Don't you fucking dare," coming out. As he got off, got down on one knee, pulls out the ring, and she got out, because it was like an alcove table, and she slides out, stands up, picks up her fucking bag, and walked out the door. And it was like,
oh my God.
And all of us were like, we could fucking see that coming. We could see that coming. And the worst part was, he actually got back up afterwards, and it was sort of like, oh, fucking hell. And, the violinist obviously took his money and fucked off, and the rest of the restaurant sort of went, lovely weather we're having, and ignored it. And at the end of the night, he sat, he finished his meal and moved through at the bar, and we had a drink after hours in the bar. And he said, yeah, it's pretty much what I expected. I said, why the fuck did you just go through all of that then? And he went, well, two reasons. First of all, I do love her, and I was hoping that we could fix things and we could move on. I was like, right? And secondly, if not, at least it's fucking dealt with now. And it was like, well, yeah, I mean, that pretty much did just, doom, there you go, let's fucking go. JD, dude.
Yep.
And you think, well, yeah,
hey,
but that's one person that was having, to the rest of the restaurant that was in that night. What the fuck? And then they've always got this story to say of the violinist coming in and this woman storming out. But you never know.
Maybe Paul's right. Maybe a tuba would have worked better. I'm thinking like a trombone.
No, I mean proper big, like
totally sexy.
Yeah. I told the missus when I proposed, she better say yes because I'd only do it once. I actually, when I proposed, see you later, JD. When I proposed to Chrissy, I had planned this out meticulously, right? I did the whole, I'm English, so I had to do it right. I went to their father and asked him permission, and he's Scottish, so he was like, "How much is this going to cost me?" But we did the whole I asked permission, and yes, of course, and I arranged when I was going to go and propose to her, and that I would take her down to the beach that she loved so much, and yeah, the clown car too, damn right. And the plan was that I would take her down to this beach, and it would be like the evening time, and we'd light those Chinese lanterns. And I had all this stuff. She always loved the idea of those. She never had one, never done one. And I was like, right, I'm going to get all this shit ready. And she always liked to take our dog at the time down there. And I'd planned out that I was going to do it this day. And half the fucking family knew it was happening. And it was pissing down. It was absolutely pissing down. And I was sort of going, right, hopefully the weather will clear up because it's fucking on tonight. I am fucking doing this because I am shitting myself. I am proposing. A night before I packed.
Gotta get it done.
Oh yeah. So we watched The Hobbit, the first one, in the hope of the entire way through the film. I'm watching the weather, just like fucking stop raining. Get to the end of the film, and I was like, right, I'm just gonna have to do this. Said to her, look, why don't we? We were saying we'd go for a walk down to the beach. Let's take the dog down to the beach. And she said, no, it's raining. There's no point. The dog won't like going out in the rain. I was like, let's go for a walk. No, I can't be bothered. We're going for a walk with a fucking dog, right? We're going to the beach. And she's like, I don't really feel like going to the beach. I'm like, look, okay, two choices here. We're going to the fucking beach and we're going to walk the dog down to the goddamn beach, or I'm putting The Hobbit #2 on. Pick which one you want. And she was like, I'm going to get my fucking dog. Let's go.
Smart choice.
Yeah.
She's a wise woman. That's how you know it's right.
Yeah, and bloody frogs. There were frogs all over the place. It was. We went down and we proposed. Now I sort of had to sit down, and I put my coat down so she could sit on it and it wouldn't be wet and stuff. And she was like, "What are you talking about? What's going on?" I was saying, "Just
so
sit fuck down, will you? So I can talk to you about something." She went, "What's going on?" And I was just like. And I whipped out the ring, and she was like, "So."
Oh, come on! Yeah. She was actually still surprised. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think she was just glad that there was an excuse to get the fuck away from the rain by that point. But yeah,
she was probably like, "Oh yeah, this is perfect timing." I mean, you're in the UK, right? So it's always raining.
Can we just go and I don't have to watch The Hobbit? Yeah. But yeah. It's the stories that are always going on around you that nobody knows that are the best ones, I find.
The world is a crazy place, man.
Definitely is.
The belter of a goat. Yeah, I like we're doing the cow to goat math these days. I don't know, cows have the mass, but goats are so damn cute.
And I'm worried about you. You find goats cute.
I don't know. Oh, come on. Have you seen the tongues on them? They come highly recommended from Paul.
Well, I mean, I used to work with a Welshman who always did say that if you're going to shag a goat, you're going to shag a sheep, do it up against the edge of a cliff, so they'll push back.
I mean, ask Michael Head for some goat stories anytime you get a chance.
Oh, that man is fucking ridiculous.
That guy is full of stories. He's incredible.
The fact that he is still alive is ridiculous. Michael Head's nickname is Lucky, and Lucky Head, and it's like, how the fuck? I mean, you're missing bad luck. Yeah, there's a goat killer miscreant down near you, Nathan.
Who is that warning me? Thanks for the warning, though. I appreciate the heads up.
I don't know who that is. So tell us who that one is.
Yeah, I don't know. we can't see the Facebook users without you signing up to StreamYard or something.
Oh, that's Xander.
Xander.
Dodgy. Oh.
Nice. Very dodgy. Potato guy.
Yep, definitely.
Speaking of Michael Head, like we had an awesome writing retreat in North Carolina with the Heads, Xander, Ryan, Shammy, and John Stovall, S.L. Rowland, and Waldo Rodriguez, and it was just super fun. We had a great time at the beach in spring. So
I remember hearing
about it
when it was going.
We tried to get you to come over, didn't we?
Yeah, I would have loved to, but the thing for me is obviously I've got. I know I'm fucking lazy, man. That's the problem.
You got nothing going on, right?
I know. I just like to struggle to fill my time, really. But I mean, I've got obviously my wife, my 2 small kids. Taking time out for anything that isn't. When we think if I'm going to Dragon Con, I am in some respect, I am coming out to party, and I'll be honest, I'll hold my hand up for that. But I am coming out to work. It is networking, it is learning, it is meeting people, it is playing the game. But I'm still also taking 5 days, 6 days off from my family and leaving them here to my wife to struggle to take the kids, to do all the school runs, to do all the bits and pieces, while I'm sitting getting ratted in a bar.
No, man, bring them. The kids will learn a lot at Dragon Con panels. They'll be so well educated when you go back.
Get fucked, no. It's just crazy talk.
Come on. You put little bracelets on them and let them go so you can track them. It's fine. Just teach them to cosplay. You might never see them again, but they'll be happy.
Jesus Christ. Even the thought. Max would be naked within about 30 seconds. He's just sort of like, anywhere that you take him, he just detonates, and he's just like clothes just go in all directions, and he's just fucking off. And he's got that from me.
It's Dragon Con, so that means he'll be at probably the Marriott. That's great.
Yeah, that's fine. Brian, dude.
Hey, Brian. What's going on, dude?
If you think, if I brought Xander with me, telling him to look the wrong way when they cross the road. Xander would, like my Xander, not Xander Boys, by the way. Xander would just be eating everything. He nothing in the world matters except food for him. And that is scarily true, Paul. I think we're both still in need of therapy from some of the things we saw when we were there. And you ran over somebody, I think, as I remember, Paul. Nice. You ran over somebody.
It's good practice. Yeah. So if he likes food, right, there's this thing at Tin Lizzie's. It's like barbecue over tater tots. And it is unbelievable. So you can just stuff him with that thing all week long.
He would be over them. Genuinely, that boy he's 2.5 and he can eat 22 nuggets, chicken nuggets. 22 chicken nuggets.
I was just watching Man v Food earlier.
That's guy his future.
There you go. So he's got a future. He's got a career ahead of him.
Do you mean the original Man v Food or the dark haired guy, the ginger?
The guy on Travel Channel. What's his name? Adam Richardson or something like that. That guy.
I can't remember which one. There was one that we used to watch here in the UK. And it was a dark-haired guy. And then there was, I think it was Adam. Yeah, it was probably him.
Adam Richmond, 2008.
Yeah, so it's probably him. And then there was a new guy. No, they're not. These are McNuggets. Chicken McNuggets from McDonald's. He is just a fucking legend. But the ginger guy that took over from him, we were like, what the fuck is this all about? Anyway, have we got any more questions? We've gone off on fucking tangents again.
I think we lost one from Lars was pitching us a softball who said, what have you got in the works, both of you? So I have a co-author project with Aaron Michael Ritchie that should be pretty different from Fey Nexus. So we're doing a series called Dungeon Accountants. And it is in the Shadowcroft world. And I had this funny idea. So we were just bullshitting at the retreat one year, Shadow Valley retreat. And as usual, having drinks on the deck and going a little off the rails. And I said, so you have Shadowcroft. There's this these dungeon cores that have to, you know, defend the celestial nodes where worlds attached to the Tree of Souls and all this fun stuff. But what about the dungeon cores that don't make it? Like, so they don't, you know, they can't all defend a celestial node. What do? So I'm like, well, what about the accountants? Is there some like dungeon bureaucracy? And so we just started shooting the shit about dungeon bureaucrats. And so we're writing a trilogy about dungeon accountants in the Shadowcroft universe. And so
that is either going to be amazing or seriously fucked up, or both.
Or we're going to go down in flames. But if we're going to go down in flames, you know, so be it. Dungeon
I will read that. Have we done a rough timeline or anything?
1 is at the final edit pass. 2 is in my grubby little hands. And 3, I think Aaron just passed it off to me. So I'm behind. So I can't promise any time frames, but they are coming along. And they're goofy. The characters are goofy. So I was just having a ball with the characters. So like the main accountant is this kind of nerdy elf, but he's got his team, right? So dungeon accountants have audit teams. And so he's got his halfling barbarian who is an interior decorator, and a rogue who swears she's actually just all about the structural engineering. And then this big troll named Kronk who has a habit of testing out their traps. And he just survives everything the dungeon can throw at him so that they can figure out if the dungeon is functioning properly.
Yeah.
So
I'm intrigued.
So they're goofy. They're also the only dungeon auditor team who are not actually dungeon cores, but they're ex-dungeon raiders, the bad guys. So they used to be the bad guys. They decided to go to work for the good team and help protect the Tree of Souls. So the other dungeon auditors don't really like them much. So they've got a couple of issues ahead of them. So yeah, it's been goofy fun. And Aaron just writes like the craziest, goofiest thing that things I couldn't think of. So like I come up with crazy characters and he comes up with goofy ass situations. And between us, I don't know, we come up with something. Again, might go down in flames, might be awesome. I think it'll be pretty fun. So far, I like it. It's been a good...
I'm liking it, to be fair. I'm liking the idea of this.
It's super fun, man. I've had a good time writing it. It's such a breath of, like, not fresh air, but different air than the Fey Nexus series. So it's been good for me to kind of get my feet wet in other styles of writing. And then... I'll hopefully become a more well-rounded author. And then after that, I have a druid story that's just been cycling through my brain for way, way too long. So I have to get that one out. So we'll see how it goes. And there's I want to edge into progression a little bit further and pure fantasy some. So I really want to play with that and then come back to like number crunchy stuff. I don't know. I have another fun, like a Christmas story project that's going to be uber crunchy that I think will be super fun. So yeah, I can't wait for all of it.
I'm interested. I definitely need to reread that. More druid stories are always good. Facebook.
I love druids.
Facebook person, whoever you are, we don't know who you are. So if it comes up with you without your name, just put like a dash in your name at the end of it or something. If you don't want to give StreamYard permission. Oh god, it was Michael Head. It was the man, the legend, the fucking
we were just
deadly
talking about
man.
Him.
Yeah,
don't blow yourself up at dinner.
Yeah, he's in serious risk of being murdered at dinner or shot, blown up, or whatever. I would never let that man drive. Put it that way. I would insist that he travels in a different vehicle to me at all times, just out of self-preservation.
You know, just for fun, I think I want to hire him to fix my Jeep or something, just for giggles, because the insurance company couldn't prove it was fraud when he blew it up.
Actually, that's a really good point. If you want to claim on your insurance, just let Michael borrow the car for the weekend or something. That'd be brilliant.
I think so.
I bet there's something, you got acts of God. There's probably, subsection 47C not to
Michael
be
Head.
involved with anything that Michael Head's involved in. It'll just be like right down there at the bottom, and you read through the appendices, and it's just like, do not allow
Yep.
this man to be involved in anything. It'll be like,
Yeah, Michael Head is in the fine print. God damn
Yeah.
it, that guy. Hey, Steve, how's it going, man?
Steve, dude.
Love to see you. Okay, so that question I'm sure was for both of us. So I have a whole bunch of ideas and a dungeon accountant fun thing. What do you got, man?
Well, I've got my Artem series, which is cyberpunk that I've written with. So basically, what we've done with that one is a world that was created between Kev Sinclair, Lars McMullen, and Dawn and myself. And what we did is we built this whole world, and then we've built our own stories in it. So it's built in the city of Artem. It's things that goes on in the city and around it. Each of our characters are connected in some way. Some of them don't meet. Some of them spend a lot of time together. Some of them, like, for example, my character is a mercenary, ex-army, APS, so armored personnel suit. He's a fucking nut job. He's out of the army. He's really in a bad place, and he just goes out fucking hunting. As a lot of my stories are, it's quite dark and brutal. And he's crap at certain things. So he hires Lars's character, who's a hacker, to do some work for him to get him into places. And it's the interplay of that. So you'll see the job that my character does with Lars from my character's perspective in my books. And it's 2 books, so it's sort of like introducing who the character is and their reason for doing things, and then them doing sort of whatever their overall goal is. And you'll see when he works with Lars, the conversation from that side. And then in Lars's book, you have a section where he's hired by my character, and he's sort of going, what the fuck is this lunatic doing? He's a fucking idiot. I wonder if I can get him to do this. Hey, that's great. And he's blatantly taking the piss. And my guy's going, that fucking idiot of a hacker, he doesn't know what the fuck the real world's. And it's the interplay between 2 different groups of people. It's good fun. So that's fully written now. It's in edits for book 2. Book 1 and some of book 2 is up on Royal Road at the moment, and it's up on my Patreon. And then so that's book 1 comes out in August. It's going through recording soon for audio, and hopefully it'll be out by the end of the year. And then we're all going to release book 1 on the 1st of August. And don't know who you are, but you're crazy and you've got bad taste. So book 2 will come out shortly after book 1, and then because I wanted to focus on finishing off some of my series, so the way that I work is I do a couple of books in a series, then I move on to another series, do a couple of books, and I'm on. So Artem is just a 2-book series. That's it. It's done. Like Prototype, it was a 1-book. That's it. It's done. It's out there. It's done. Arise is a 6-book series. Books 1 and 2 are out. I'm currently writing book 3, which is up on Patreon, and then I'm going to be writing book 4, hopefully book 5, book 6, and just that'll be it. It'll be the full story done, and it's good. It's good. That's where I'm at.
For a normal author,
plugging away.
For a normal author, that would be like a 9-book series. So, because you're right, big fat chonkers.
It's only. I mean, I'm about a third to halfway with Arise, and so that's Amanda. So I'm at about 110,000, I think, at the moment. So I'm about halfway into the story of this book. So about 200,000 per book.
Do you have an ending in mind when you start, and you know how many books there are, but you don't know how chunky they're going to be? So you just make them as chunky as necessary to fill in their arc. So you're kind of planning arc-wise, and then it just gets as big as it needs to get. Right?
Book Underverse, book 5, when I was writing book 4, and I was like, right, okay, well, this is going to be a 6-book season, because I write that one in seasons. So it was like, there's a start and there's a definite finish. And I was like, wait a minute, I've got 2 books left, and I've got to resolve all this shit that's going on. I was like, this is going to have to be a big book. So the next book was like 300,000, and then 413,000 or something. And just sort of writing book 6 and just going, this is going to be a fucking big book. Fuck.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just they are as big as they need to be.
But you kind of know where it starts and where it ends, and all the shit in the middle just comes out of your crazy brain.
Pretty much, there's no plotting done
Yep.
whatsoever. It's a case of I know, yes, I'm right, Carl. I know that is the aim at the end, but it's like I don't know how it'll happen. I don't know what it'll be. I just know that Bob at this point is going to end up at this point. That's it. There is no
Yep.
more.
I mean,
Yeah.
that plays pretty well with the Royal Road stuff, right? So maybe doing the cyberpunk on Royal Road has lent itself really well to the way you think and write about it.
I hope so. I mean, it seems to be quite popular.
Awesome. I'm super glad. Do you have like favorite cyberpunk stories or authors that you grew up with?
No, to be honest with you, cyberpunk was never that high on my sort of interests. It was more of a like Shadowrun. I really liked Shadowrun growing up.
I was going to ask about that too.
Definitely, and of course,
Oh yeah,
Broken Angels, Altered Carbon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those books were brilliant. They were very much influential in my side of things. But yeah, I was never really heavily into cyberpunk. I was more into fantasy, epic fantasy, and into science fiction. The reason I write the way that I do is I like Peter F. Hamilton, who writes books like that, and I like Robert Jordan, who writes books like fucking that. You know, I like big fucking books. So when I write, I write with the intention of big fucking books.
Do you read fast too then? Do you read those giant books really quickly? Yeah. So if you need like enough reading material for one bathroom trip, grab Neuromancer by William Gibson. Like you could get through that little novella like that, but it is the heart and soul to me of cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And then like Burning Chrome is this beautiful little collection of stories that to me set all the vibe for cyberpunk. And then Neuromancer was an amazing expansion on that. So I wish cyberpunk had more love. So I'm hoping you guys kill it, because I love Shadowrun too. Absolutely love the mesh of fantasy races and, you know, a cyberpunk future. It was super fun.
When we started
should just
talking about
I was going to say we should get a game together for Dragon Con. Just run a one-shot cyberpunk suicide mission or something in Shadowrun.
Totally.
I probably still have the books. I do.
Congratulations.
I think I have the.
Yep. You are now our DM for that night. We'll do it in the Western Bar, and we will all be off our tits.
Hell yeah! Oh man. Okay.
That's gonna be messy.
We should do it.
Definitely. You know that Kev, Lars, and Brian are coming with me.
Oh my god, it's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be so messy. It's going to be messy.
I love it. Johnny Mnemonic is great. Somebody mentioned Johnny Mnemonic. I love it. Yeah. Oh, Dragon Con's going to be a riot.
It is. It is. The thing is that when we started talking about the Cyberpunk project, we'd already planned out most of it, and we put some bones on it when we were in Madrid last June. So this has been.
I remember you guys sneaking around. I remember Madrid where you guys were sneaking around. I was like, yeah, I see how it is.
Yeah. But it was a case of we planned this one for a little while. And you start thinking about these different things for it. It's just like, what the fuck are we going to do? So, yeah, it's good fun. We talked about it because we wanted to share a world and just see what happened.
Yeah. I think it's fun to collaborate. It's difficult, though. Like, they say you're not splitting the work in half. You're actually just doubling the work.
Yeah.
When you collaborate. And I think that's true.
It is, because certain things you think of, like the dealing with the police, for example. You know, I mean, how do you deal with the police? Are they responsible police? Are they criminals? Are they corporate goons? Well, who do they answer to? How do they answer to them? What are the police actually interested in? You know, what kind of technology do they use? And all those kind of details that you might only mention in passing that they're hiding from the police or totally ignoring them and whatever, or paying them off. But then you've got to build
Yeah.
a reason for why and who they are that's coherent, and then talk to the others that you're talking to. And you're going, well, I've got the police doing this. And you go, oh, well, my police are totally fucking corrupt. And you go, oh, well, mine are actually quite decent. So
mine are wearing corporate logos on their arms. Yeah, like the classic cyberpunk scenario, right? Is that it's only private security forces, almost 100%.
Yeah.
So what is that corporation's goals? It's crazy to think about. Yeah.
So yeah,
that's fun stuff, dude.
Some good places to be and to play with things. So
right on, man.
I do enjoy the sort of map.
I think I read through the first few chapters of everybody's on Royal Road. I can't wait to see them come out on KU. I'm a better KU reader. I'm only keeping up with a couple of things on Royal Road these days.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing it and seeing they're actually out there. And it was good to get that out my brain because, as you say, you get a brainworm in there that you need to deal with. You need to get it out because it contaminates everything otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like this druid story for me. And then I don't kill me, Lars. I have a bard story in mind too.
Disgraceful.
I love bards. I will never have the awesome sound effects though. God, the violin in Lars' story is so well done. It's beautiful.
The court bard. It's
the
way that story goes.
I love it.
Music is just wonderful. I mean, the story is great. Even though it was written by that weirdo Lars.
I know, even though he wrote it, still somehow it came out brilliantly.
I know. I don't know how the fuck that happened.
That's a fun character. It's fun because it's a mystery. So, like, I think a lot of books are more powerful with a mystery plot layered on top of them. And that just hooked me with his story. And I love that. That's super fun. And then the whole, the bard is the chronologist of this world and the events. It just links the bard together to the history of that little town so beautifully.
It really does. If anybody hasn't read it, honestly, read Lars McMuller's. I think it's Lars M. He usually writes as
it's under Lars M. because we're all too dumb to pronounce his last name actually.
Yeah, Bob. It's Lars Bob. And it's rename and fuck that shit. But the story is just wonderful. It really is.
And then his Dragon series is great too, man.
Yes, that
I
was
got
really
to
good.
beta read that for him. Yeah, super fun.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, when it came out and I was reading it, I was like, "You sneaky bastard! You didn't say anything about this. You didn't tell us about this." And he was like, "Yeah, well,
I got a sneak preview.
What I had in my head. I was like, "You fucking bastard! This is brilliant." I really enjoyed that story.
He's awesome. How's life as a publisher going, man? I see Brian's coming out with his first thing too. Your first launch for Lit RPG Legion.
Yes, thank you, dude. Yeah, it's going well. We love you too, Lars, mate. It's really when Brian and I, when we first met each other, I really liked Brian and I really liked sort of the stuff that in the way that he looks at the world, especially. And when he was saying, "Oh, I've got this book," and he was saying about, you don't know that Brian is really self-effacing. He doesn't push himself forward, right? And yet, you think there's like 30 or 50,000 books on Royal Road, right? He got in the top 10 with his first book.
Oh yeah,
and he was up in the top 10 for ages. He only got out of the top 10 when he was knocked out by Matt Dinnerman. And I'm sorry, Matt Dinnerman knocking you out.
There's no shame in that.
Shows how fucking good you are. Damn right, his voice is sexy beast.
Shit.
But
he is.
It's a case. He wrote that story, and I was like, wow, I read some of it on Royal Road. I was like, this is really fucking good. And then he came to me and he was like, yes, I'm going to have to look for a publisher. And, I know that you're interested in Lit RPG. I know you're involved in it and all the rest. I didn't know because we weren't sort of going, hey, by the way, guys, I'm going to set up as a publisher. We were saying like, okay, I can give you some advice. I'm reading this book. And he sort of sent me the first couple of chapters asking for some advice and going like, should I do this? Should I just scrap it and walk away from the idea? And I'm reading this. And I'm sitting talking to Chrissy, my wife. And we've decided and we've agreed at this point, we are not going to start with Legion until next year. We're going to spend the year getting everything sort of planned out and everything ready. And then we'll start next year. And then that bastard Brian, fucking, so am I, mate. That bastard Brian gives me this manuscript, and I was reading it, and I'm just going, I'm not fucking letting this go. I am not letting this go. I talked to Chrissy, and we talked to Geneva, our partner in it as well. And then we were like, right, so now we need to pull our finger out of our arse, and we need to pull the company up by its bootstraps and get this ready, because we weren't going to be ready yet, but we damn well will, because this is that good. And yeah, it's
people you want to work with too. Like, it's quality writing, and it's a great person and a great group of people. So I absolutely love those connections. You were talking about Dragon Con being like where you go to work too. Like, we're gonna have fun, but you work there too. But a lot of it is just deciding who you want to work with, and knowing even if it's years later down the road, like, I love these people. I love the group in this community. I would work with so many people in this author group and publishing group that I absolutely adore. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry, Paul's comment there that he's going to write a book for me. That is fucking, that is terrifying on so many different levels. I'd love to see.
Yeah, I'm game. Yeah, let's see what you come up with, dude. I would love it. Hey, Harmon.
But yeah, Harmon, you fucking legend, you sir. But that's the thing. It is about meeting people, because you meet people and you sit and you have a drink with. It's not about the alcohol, but you sit and you'd be drinking Coke, you'd be drinking fucking water, whatever it is. You're just sitting around talking to these people, and it's such a weird world. Mine's not enough for a lit RPG. See what it is, dude. The thing for me that really got me into this was, I know Luke Chimlenko's saying that he's going to come to Dragon Con this year, and I'm really, really looking forward to meeting Luke properly.
He's awesome.
Because I was speaking to him for ages before I started writing, and he and Alaron, both of them recommended that I start writing, and they both recommended it in part because I'd reached out to them to talk about other things, and I would just basically praise their books. And these amazing authors that I respected so much reached back and answered and said, "Hey, great. How you doing? What's going on? You all right? What do you like about the books?" And so I got started chatting to them. And the fact that these two guys, these authors, fucking hell, spoke to me, nobody, was such a life-changing thing that it was wonderful. And I am going to fucking buy Luke some drinks in Dragon Con. And probably abuse the shit out of him, because I'm just that kind of a guy. Not in a sexual way, just for Paul, because he's there.
Yeah, you got to make that line clear with Paul around.
Yeah, you do, really. But to meet people,
I remember my first experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say my first experience. I mean, I barely know Luke in passing, because after I met him, he had his first kid and stopped traveling for a little while. But the first time I met him, we went to support him on a panel at Dragon Con. I ended up sitting next to Ramon Mejia, and Ramon stole, and Bryce O'Connor was sitting next to us too. So Bryce, I think, wasn't paying attention, because he was supposed to hold on to Luke's phone. Ramon stole Luke's phone and then took a selfie of him and I and made it his background image and locked it. So I don't know how long Luke let us stay as the background image on his phone, but that was my introduction to lit RPG authors and how fun and awesome they were.
Fucked up. Yeah, definitely. I love that when you do things like take a photo of their lock screen and then leave that as their screen as a screensaver.
Yeah,
because it confuses the shit out of people, because they're tapping the screen trying to get it to work, and why doesn't it work? And it's because it's just a photo. You're tapping a photo, but
it's a time-honored tradition too, because apparently, like, Steve Campbell and I took some pretty awkward photos that were fantastic, because Chatfield left his phone laying around in the Weston bar. I think we took 2 or 3 dozen photos that were like pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
I'm expecting some awesome photos this year then, dude. There's going to be some awesome photos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna be
am
great.
really looking forward to it. Yeah. It's one of those things that Dragon Con is such a weird situation because you've got these people like us. So we met in Madrid, we met again in Dragon Con, but we've only actually met physically twice. And yet it's great talking to you. I class you as a good friend. And but we go there and we have these online interactions with people. I'm glad, but with people that you have this online interaction that you don't get to meet normally, and you build a relationship with this person, and then you go and you meet them, and there's that little bit of weirdness because you walk up and you're like, I know you really well, but I've never met you before in my life.
Isn't that weird? It is a strange moment, and I'm naturally really, really shy. And so I remember the first time I went to 20 books and knew of Lit RPG. That was the first time, like, I had started reading. I'd read 200 or 300 of the books, and I'd started writing my own. I hadn't published yet. And so I walked up at 20 books and I saw and recognized this herd of Lit RPG authors. And I just kind of quietly went about my business, knowing that I wasn't part of the group yet. And the guy that like ended up grabbing me and yanking me into the group was Andres Luce, the guy who wrote Skeleton in Space. He's kind of disappeared in the last couple of years, but I loved him. And he was just so friendly and open and joyous to be around. And so we ended up just, Darla and I hung out with Andres, and he introduced us around to Dakota and that whole crew, and James and Jeanette. Like, that's when I started running into them and realized how awesome this entire group of people were, and just fell in love. Like, and I think it was 2 or 3 conferences later, I had run into James and Jeanette several times over a couple of years and ended up publishing with them just because we got along. We had beers. We were like, you're not an asshole. I'm not an asshole. Let's work together. This was super fun.
Literally, but also how cool is that you are, as opposed to, one of the big publishing houses where you will never meet the people there. You will just get an email, and it's just the email, John or whatever it is, and it's like, this could be John, it could be Johan, it could be fucking anything. This person you will never meet in real life, and instead you're getting lashed with them. And we were talking as Legion, and we were talking about our authors retreats. And I know that some of the authors retreats that go on with obviously the other publishing houses are all very sensible, and they're sort of like, we're going to discuss, the actual business of working. We're going to have editors that are going to talk about. I know. We're not even going to try and lie about this. There's going to be no fucking work getting done at ours. It's just going to be we're just going to be having like mental health breakdown, which is we're all just going to get lashed in an all-inclusive bar. That's how classy we are. But
can I send you a short story to publish just so I can come to your fucking retreat?
Totally can. Of course you can do. It's like madness. What's a big? It sounds French.
Big bad evil guy.
Yeah. I was trying to remember the G. I was like, big bad evil. Yeah. But you've got to have madness. Yeah. Madness is the best thing about all. I agree, man.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good writer's retreat. So if you happen to let slip where it occurs, I might just get a hotel room down the street and crash.
Totally. Totally, dude. We'll just tell you, it's either going to be somewhere ridiculously hot so we can all be on a beach and just get absolutely legless, or it's going to be at like a skiing retreat or something so we all end up with a load of injuries, because then you've got the excuse of this is why we're all sitting around a log cabin on nighttime with a fire going, getting leathered. Because I bruises, the first day I can't possibly do this anymore for the rest of the week.
I think what you're actually doing is guaranteeing that your authors are as productive as possible because they don't have any choice, right? If their legs are broken, I know what you're doing.
Yeah. And then obviously he goes into the room at night with a hammer and just sort of lays the hammer on the bed and just goes, just so you're aware, I can get into any room.
Yeah.
This hammer will ensure that your legs stay broken until the book is finished on time.
I mean, as long as breakfast in bed keeps coming, keep the mimosas going, I'm fine. Keep typing. Oh, shit. That sounds like a good time.
It's
Take
going to be
Michael
good
Head
fun.
skiing. No, we want to take Michael Head like off-roading. We need to take him on a bunch of side-by-sides through the desert, because then we would all die for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my previous point of I want it to be in a separate fucking vehicle to me at all times.
Yeah.
A totally separate vehicle to me, because
Yeah.
that fucking crazy.
But I want a GoPro aimed
Oh,
at him at all times.
Yeah, what we
Right?
need
And
is
one of those like
a little drone
drones.
with it on, because you want to
Yeah.
be back from it. You don't want to be too close.
No, yeah, I think the guy blew up an entire section of a motor depot or something. It's scary.
I want to take him on a safari to have him laughing his head off as he drags back a rhino or something he killed in 1-to-1 combat. He really would as well. He genuinely would.
Yeah.
Anybody out there, if you don't know Michael Head, when you meet Michael Head, he will tell you things. And he just drops something and moves on. Like, that's not what it really feels like to be stabbed. In the testicles.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Bye,
think,
buddy.
what? Oh, yeah, I got stabbed in the nuts. Anyway, did you see that rum over there? Have you tried that one? Or do you want to try the other one? And you go, whoa. I'll have
Hang
that
on.
one.
Back up.
Let's take a step back here. What the fuck do you mean you got stabbed in the nuts? And he's like, oh, yeah, well. And you're like, this man is legendary and also terrifying.
And like
so
the third or fourth time you meet him, he's like, have I told you goat story number 5? I don't know. I think I only got the first 3, Michael. Go ahead and tell me the 5th goat story. And
he's telling you stuff. And the worst thing is, you always live through it. Because half of these things you're going to go, you're going, that's got to be bullshit. And then he goes, have you seen this scar? And you go, what the fuck? That's from this story. This is how and you just don't. It's just terrifying.
Yeah, we're talking about post-apocalypse, right? So post-apocalyptic is our chance to explore what people would be like under pressure and in a changing weird world. I want Michael Head on my team at a distance.
Yes.
Like either he would cause it. Yeah, like he would cause it, or he would exponentially increase the effects of the apocalypse before then, dealing with it gracefully.
What we need to do is, when you need something and you need a car battery or something, Michael is the person you send for it, because he will succeed. He will do it.
Oh, yeah.
He might have accidentally sunk the continent of Africa into the ocean, but he would come back with a car battery. Yeah.
Yep. He would. Absolutely right. No matter how much it costs.
Yeah. I've got the battery. Okay, well, we all got a system notification.
The horizon is in flames.
People died. And go, oh, yeah, well, things happened. Things got out of control. But I got the car battery.
That's probably what happened with all the Canadian fires, or like Michael went out for chicken nuggets or something and Canada caught on fire.
Yeah, literally Canada caught on fire. Thousands of dead, houses are gone. Wildfires are raging. Canada geese are all they've been elected to Parliament.
Wasn't my fault.
But yeah, he's just going. Funny story happened on the way to the office today. You've got to love him. You've not lived until you've seen Afghani have sexy time with a goat. Yeah.
So
everybody.
Lars wants to know who our Gamelit Writer dream team would be.
And for which positions? Knowing Lars, that can be taken so many different ways. I'm going to bow to this question, because obviously with publishing at the moment, it's really I say this person, this person, this person, this person. Everybody's going to read shit into that. So I'm going to buy out of that one. But who would you like on your team, dude?
Man, just people that are fun to be around, because nothing else fucking matters. Like, we can figure out skills,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's great to have them, but I've got enough of a baseline in shooting and hunting and fishing and survival and stuff that I have a fair shot at making it. But if you're not around people that you're going to have the best possible time with in a crappy situation, like that's what matters. People that are well traveled and are calm when shit hits the fan. Like, so Chatfield comes to mind, right? That dude travels all the time. He's totally chill. If things go wrong, it's cool. You just roll with it. And he's got this great attitude. So, like, I love traveling with him and hanging out with him. So, totally. Brian is just a fucking riot. Brian Norden is always a riot. You're right. He's too self-effacing because he doesn't, but he's so awesome. And I had so much fun hanging out with him a few months ago. So that was great. The heads are gorgeous, beautiful people. I love them both. Like really Michael and Amanda are just a riot. They're awesome.
Amanda is just so cool with everything. She's like, it's okay. We'll deal with this. This is how we'll fix it. We'll move on. And he's like,
so like totally dig all these people. Like, I don't know. So many people are awesome. Right? Lars is the nicest dude I've ever met.
Genuinely is a lovely guy. Yeah.
Right? Kevin and I bullshitted. I don't know why, but we bullshitted for like a half hour about roofing. Because I was on a roofing crew once, and I think he was too, or he did drywall or something. And so we were just pounding drinks and shooting the shit about basically redneck life from my perspective. Like I could hang with that guy forever without getting stressed out, without getting dramatic. Like those are the people you want to surround yourself with. And
definitely,
so for me, yeah, right. Mentally, if you can keep it together as a group, that's way more important to me than knowing how to whatever butcher a cow. Like you can figure out how to butcher a fucking cow. It's fine. You'll figure it out.
Difficult, yeah, but it's one of those things that if you know that the people you've got with you will have your back as well,
yes,
I'm thinking so much. I literally stare at a wall and think of that lasagna that you guys slipped. Stuff of legends. Also, your pool entry technique is still magical to this day. Pool entry technique.
Okay, so there was this pool at this place in Italy we were hanging out at, and it was not heated, and the weather, I mean, you know, it's early season, so it was 50. Maybe the pool was 50 degrees, and that water was cold. So we're like, screw it, we're gonna go hang out in the pool. So Chatfield walks into the pool, and he's all like trying to keep as much of his body out of the water as possible. It's kind of cold and pale, like a Canadian ought to be. And I'm like, look out, Chatfield, you're about to get wet, and just cannonballed him. I totally just did a cannonball into it and made a giant splash. And yeah, got him soaking wet. And then Brian is also like tiptoeing his way off the steps, and Darla's just like poof, dove right in. So yeah, we had a good time there. And then we started cooking. I don't know, like the second night we were there, Darla and I just started randomly cooking because it was somebody's birthday. And one of the people traveling with Chatfield, you know, she had her birthday. We went out to a winery, and later we were like, we need a birthday cake. So Darla, just out of nowhere, and I, like mostly her, she just whipped up an olive oil lemon cake. And we're measuring crap out of like a coffee cup because the house doesn't have anything that you can actually measure with. We have the wrong flour. I went and tried like Google Translate all over the store to try to find the right kind of flour. So randomly got the right cake flour, but did not have the right baking soda or anything. So we're just bullshitting, making up food, and ended up with this amazing olive oil lemon cake. And it was beautiful. And then the next thing we made just out of nowhere was lasagna. So we made homemade lasagna. And then I made like pasta carbonara one of the other nights. So like Darla would bake and I would make these crazy pasta dishes. I think somebody at some point said that why the fuck did we come 2,000 miles to have Americans cook us Italian food in Italy?
Yeah. But if it's that good, it doesn't matter where you are.
One of the things, and you probably, if you read Fey Nexus, you know I like cooking too, because there's definitely some like chicken fried deer,
Yeah.
venison, and other meals, some homemade cornbread. Like, I love cooking, and Darla's a baker, and I love home brewing too. So, like, when it comes to food, I got it covered.
I spent maybe 8 or 10 years as a chef professionally, and I never fucking cook. And I mean that, I never
Yeah,
cook. Chrissy
you
cooks in
just
the
hate it
house.
now.
I'm like, fuck this shit. You want to cook? You cook, down. Go for it. Like, nah.
Kyle, I bet you've got chops. Yeah, I mean, I think if you do something professionally, sometimes it's hard to come back to it for pleasure. Sometimes years later, though, you'll discover that there is something cool about it again, but it takes a long
Oh, yeah.
time.
Definitely, but I mean, it's a case of I worked as a chef for a lot of years, and so I would, when I ate, it was always just fuel. So I would eat beans on toast or something all the time. It was just fuel for me. So much better
Yeah.
to them as we had using Italian ingredients. It really worked well. Our definition of lemon squares was squared lemon, lemon tonic, and lemon gin. Yeah,
Yeah, we kept making these lemon squared drinks. They were freaking awesome. And we had limoncello out of a penis bottle. It was hilarious.
I'm so not going to say anything.
We have
Totally
pictures of the
notes.
whole group passing it around.
I bet you do as well. Have you ever had Frangelico?
Oh yeah, yeah, kind of nutty flavored liqueur.
Frangelico was one of those weird things up until about, oh God, probably 13, 14 years ago. You could not get it anywhere outside of Italy. Like literally, there
Really?
was no. It was a case of you could only get it. With being in the restaurant trade, we used to, when people were going on holiday, that were regulars that came into the restaurant, we used to tell them if they were going to Italy, right, here's some money, bring us back some of this stuff because you couldn't get it anywhere else. It was just Italy that had it, and then it just suddenly went boom, and it was everywhere. But it was great because people that knew of Frangelico, we had a spate of things in the UK where people would give you in bars, you could take a shot of things, and if you got the shot right,
Mm-hmm.
they would give you your drinks for free. But if not, then you had to pay like double as a sort of forfeit. And it was brilliant for the bars
Okay.
because they literally made a fortune because they go, "Oh, have a try of this," and then they would make loads of money on it. And they
Yeah.
invariably used Frangelico because it was never heard of anywhere. And I'd be just
Oh
going into
man.
bars going, Frangelico, 1989. So, yeah,
Dude.
just totally.
I remember Frangelico. Okay, so back in college, one of my claims to fame was making ice cream cocktails.
Nice.
So we would get ice cream of different flavors, and you'd add like Bailey's Irish cream or something. And Frangelico was one of the things that went really well with like walnut ice cream or butter pecan or something like that. So
Yeah.
we'd make these alcoholic milkshakes that were just killer, absolute killer. So
The shit that you could put in milkshakes. We used to
mhm.
do. We used to work out in Greece. We used to work in Crete, and we get like fridge, so FRIJJ milkshakes, and like strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, whatever the flavors were, like crappy ones that we just on like supermarket shelves. And we used to get those and
Okay.
get a bottle of strawberry schnapps. And for breakfast, we would just
Mhm.
drink half the milkshake, top up the rest of it with strawberry schnapps, and then have that for breakfast each morning. So you'd start your day with
Oh
sort
my
of like
god.
10 shots or something. But
Yeah,
as you do. But dude,
definitely
I could
does the
sit
body
here and
good.
just
Uh,
definitely. I could sit here and just talk bollocks with you all night long, but we really should try and cap it to
Absolutely.
sort of like 2 hours because poor Geneva's sitting there having to run the back system for us as we talk bollocks.
Shut up. God, shut
I
up.
know. I think she thinks that about me all the time. She's always saying that to me. But two things before we move on, before we call it a night. Um, yeah, I can see that one. First of all,
Yeah.
gaming. Are you into any games at the moment? And what kind of machine are you playing them on? Are you playing on PC? Are you playing on console?
So I have an old PS4. I'm not playing much. I kind of play Stray, that cyberpunk post-apoc cat where you drive a cat around. Like just fill
Hmm.
in the time with that. I used to be pretty heavy into Warcraft, but don't play that much anymore. I started gaming with MUDs, like text based role playing games on the internet, so multiplayer. I've been in and out of games a lot over the years. Diablo was one of my favorites. Diablo 2, like I used to sit there, like Darla and I would each have a computer separately, and we'd play D2 together. It was ridiculous. But right now I just don't have a whole lot of gaming time, so I have to have something that I can just kind of flip on, entertain myself a little bit, and flip off again. Yeah, just way too busy. I played D&D with Luke Gygax at 20 Books last year. So like Gary Gygax's son, and that was amazing. We ran the original Temple of Evil, so it was just ridiculous. I was one of the few people that survived it, so that was fun. And then I would love to play Shadowrun again. So yeah, I'm an eclectic mix, just like everything else. How about you?
Well, I've been getting into Halo a bit of late, Halo Infinite. So a few of us have been playing every 2 weeks on a Sunday. We've been gaming. I'm going to miss it tomorrow is when we're due to do it. So I've got stuff on, so I'm going to miss it, which is a shame. But it's Father's Day here, so
yeah.
But I've been enjoying that. I was just see if you were into for Halo, you could have joined us because that's good fun because we're cross-platform. PC and Xbox and stuff. So if you can get onto Halo on a sort of around this time on a Sunday, every other week, we're having a couple of games, so that's good fun.
That would be a ball.
It was Lars, Kev, Brian, Chatfield. There's a few of us all playing, and I've got to say, I will hold my hands up, right, and I will tell you, I am fucking terrible at it. I am absolutely fucking terrible.
That would be my caveat. Like, if you guys can carry me, I'm okay, because I will suck for a while.
I'm literally just running around getting shot. I'm dying like twice as much as I'm killing people, but I'm having a good laugh with it and enjoying it, so fuck it.
I was always kind of like that with World of Warcraft. Like, I would just build a tank character that could wander through and destroy shit and just see the story. So I would build like a blood tank or a druid bear tank, and I would just plot around and draw everything aggro in the freaking zone, and eventually I would kill it all. But I just wanted to see all the quests and stories and all the little Easter eggs and shit. It was super fun. So that's kind of my style.
It's about seeing the world. It's about seeing the game. That's good fun. But yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you're up for it, though, definitely always welcome to join us.
Thank you. So appreciate that.
It's from the heart, too. So the other thing that we always do on this, which is the reason that we set up this group, is to talk about other authors. It's not just to talk about us and what we like. It's to raise attention for an author that we really like, that we feel that doesn't get enough praise or enough notice on their books, or maybe there's a book that's come out recently that you think could do with a bit of attention. Is there anything you want to recommend, dude?
Man,
I'll put you on the spot now.
The weird thing is, lately I've been going back to some older stuff that. So the current one I'm keeping up with is All the Skills. I think that one's pretty fun, but I'm into book 3 on Royal Road with that one now. I think probably I actually just recently started the Transcendent Green and was surprisingly thrilled with it. That post-apocalypse one set in Scotland. And so I think it probably is a little bit under the radar because I hadn't seen it much prior to that, and I adore it. I love it so far, and I like the Gaelic callbacks in it. It's super fun. So the Transcendent Green, I'll throw that one out there. That's one worth checking out.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it, but I have heard about it. So I shall have to have a try of that one. I know Lars talks about it. He said that he's read it and it was really, really good. So I shall give it a go.
Yeah, but Lars has read everything. And he's too nice to tell you it sucks.
I know.
I don't know how he does it.
He's always nice about my stuff, and that's saying something. So takes one for the team. I am going to talk about, I'm going to recommend a book I haven't read, because I've read the first 2 books in the series, and it was fucking good. And I only found out recently that the 3rd book's out, so I'm going to go and read that. That's what I'm going to be doing over the next couple of days. But I'm going to recommend this little book. I'm just going to make sure I've got the title right. Called Stormhaven. right? Now, normally I
Mhm.
don't recommend
Never heard of it.
the book person who's on here with me because it's bad form or whatever. But fuck you all. I'm the one who's giving the interview, so fuck you. Basically, I read these first two books in this series, and I really enjoyed them. And I didn't know the book 3 was out until very, very recently. So I am going to read book 3, and I'm going to recommend this series. So if you haven't read this, right, Black Dawn is the first one, isn't it? And it's
Yep.
what's the series actually called here? Because I can't remember this off the top of my head. Fae Nexus. I always forget that for some
Fae
reason.
Nexus.
FAE Nexus. Fae Nexus. By this fucking wonderful guy here. Give it a go. Give it a try and tell me what you think. But leave him a fucking review as well. It's really, really good. I really enjoyed that story. So that's my recommendation for this fortnight.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that.
No, dude,
You're
it's
awesome.
you more than earned it. It's really good. I enjoyed the book, so I think it's only fair that I actually tell people and go, hey, you should fucking read these because they're good. But
well, I hope you
anyway,
like Stormhaven, and I'll sign a bunch of them for you when you come out and visit.
Definitely, but I will have a set of 3 off you when we come to Dragon Con. Yeah. I want some books signed. That sounds damn good to me, brother. Right, we'll call it then if nobody's got any last questions or anything. But thank you for coming on, dude. Thank you for coming and talking to me and just talking to us all and letting us throw weird questions at you and pick your brain and just catch up. It's been nice.
Thanks for having me, man. It was an absolute pleasure. Always fun. So I can't wait to hang out again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. Geneva's just reminded me there that it is actually Father's Day tomorrow in the US. It is here in the UK as well. I don't know about weird places like Denmark where Lars pretends to be thrown, because for those of you that don't know, Denmark doesn't actually exist. It's actually just a sort of subdivision of Sweden.
Didn't Shakespeare make it up?
Yeah, it's totally made up. Yeah. Don't forget to remind Lars of that. See him. Denmark doesn't exist. Sweden is all of that area. Yeah.
Probably true.
I'm probably going to get stabbed for saying that.
Yeah,
I really am.
Happy Father's Day tomorrow to all the dads.
Yep, definitely. So thank you all, guys, and that'll be good night. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
See ya.